Welcome to We Run This Town podcast, the official podcast of Gulf Winds Track Club, serving our area runners for almost 50 years. Our podcast is designed to support our runners in the Big Bend area, whether you're a beginning runner or an elite runner, offering education, entertainment, and encouragement on all topics running. Let's get running with today's episode. Welcome. Hello, everybody, to another episode of We Run This Town, the official podcast of Gulf Winds Track Club. Truly happy today because I get to spend some time with my alma mater. I mean, not the entire university, but someone from Florida State University. Coach Kane, Matt Kane, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for being here today. And, as we always do, we try to provide some education, a little bit of encouragement, maybe some entertainment for our members, and really looking forward to learning more about track and field and cross country at Florida State University. But I also want to just throw out a short reminder for all of our guests. Boston Marathon is coming up soon, so Marathon Monday is right around the corner. So everybody get your popcorn, get your coffee, take a day off. Well, if you can. But I'm a big fan of sitting and watching that race, and that's right around the corner. You ever watched it, Coach?
Yeah, quite a few times, actually.
In person, TV, both?
One time in person, and then I had a former athlete that she was sixth, not when I was coaching her.
Right.
Unfortunately, in the year of the bombing or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah. So
Okay.
I followed quite a bit, and I used to work for Adidas, so we spent a lot of time in Boston in association with the marathon, and then they used to do a street race. Anyway, so It's a great race. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. We went, a group of us went in 2014, the year after, the bombing, and just what an experience that was, just to be around it that next year. But if she was sixth,
she's
dare
good.
I say, what was she running? 230s, 220s?
20s.
Okay.
She was good for a long time. She was like this was 16:0 5K girl.
Okay.
Back when that was really good. But,
that's good.
it's come a long ways since then. But I think she was like fourth in NCAAs.
So last little piece before we get to the main conversation,
Yeah.
You and I were briefly talking about a beer mile earlier today. The national record, I think, is like a 4:30 something in a beer mile.
Yeah.
But a marathon, the winners that are doing that are running it also at
that pace.
Yeah. Amazing, right?
Yeah, truly.
I can do neither.
Yeah, I don't think I'd run a 4:30 half right now. So,
Well, so thanks again, Coach. Want to have a little conversation, learn a little bit more about who you are, where you've been, things you're doing, but get into some big picture things on cross country and track. We may not spend as much time on where the teams are today, but we want to talk a little bit about that as well. But I guess to catch us up, outside of all my research or stalking I've done online, I understand a little bit about your background, but share with our listeners a little bit about where you're from. And, you mentioned already junior college. I know you transitioned a few different places, private sector. You may have been in the SEC.
Yep.
Shh, we're going to say that lowly and quietly. But, give us a little a walkthrough on that, please.
Sure. I got into track and field just sort of like naturally, and then I was a hurdler growing up. We'll speed this up quite a bit. I hurdled in college, and I knew I wanted to get into coaching, and so I started to kind of dabble in the decathlon just a little bit. Not so because I thought it was going to be any good. I just wanted to have a feel for all the events, if that made any sense. So, when I first got into coaching, I started out in junior college. I did that for 9 years at 2 different institutions, and it was great for me to learn how to coach. It was great for me. I got to work with some pretty incredible athletes that, just needed some guidance and maybe educational guidance, or maybe they needed to develop and get good enough to go to Division II or Division I. So there was so many good things that came from my time there. And as we were talking about, it was me and like one other guy. So at the first institution, it was I coached everything but the distance. And then at the next institution, I coached everything but the throws. Yeah. So I got an opportunity to kind of do everything. And some of it was my necessity, and I learned to coach the pole vault so that I didn't kill anybody, and those type of things. So it was really good for me, and I was pretty fortunate to figure it out. I don't know, had some good success, and then
well, thank you for being humble, but national titles, I think?
A couple of national titles, and I coached a a world champ in the hurdles and a world silver medalist in the
Yeah.
200. I had 3 like world championship finalists my last year in junior college on the same team.
You're in a safe space for that kind of stuff. I think it's important, right? I mean, it lends to credibility too, and all those things for your transitions later. But that's hard work. So congratulations on those early successes.
Yeah, it was kind of didn't know what I didn't know type of situation, and we just kept winning races, and we just were kind of naive, and we went to the world championships, and just okay, we're going to another track meet. I don't care if Bolt's in the race. We're going to try and win, So it was really a great experience, and it like shaped my world. I use this as an example all the time. Is I coached a world champ before I ever coached in the NCAA, right? So a lot of times, like the NCAA championships is a big meet for a lot of people. It just feels like another meet to me, which I think helps prepare the kids and all that kind of stuff. So again, speeding things up, and I went from there to the University of Oklahoma for about 18 months. That's home for me. So,
so it was from Oklahoma?
I'm from Oklahoma, from Stillwater, so that was a whole fun experience.
That's different.
That was very much Dad's very proud of you. Please don't wear that in the house.
So he likes the orange.
Very orange and black. Yeah. And then I had some success there, won a couple national championships and individually, and then we went to Alabama. That was a big project. Coach Waters, who's still over there, hired me to be the men's and women's sprint coach, and we had a lot of work to do. It was a program that they are now, top 10 in the NCAA. Has done a great job, but when we took over, we were dead last in the SEC, whatever that conference is called, and we had a lot of work to do. And a couple of years, we were 6th in the nation. You know what I mean? So it was that was a really, really hard, fun time, with some other great assistant coaches and making some things happen. And from there, I had coached a couple, coached a collegiate record holder, a couple more NCAA champions, had a lot of people kept turning pro. And I continued to coach all those people when they turn pro, which is a bit of a weird, if you're not familiar with that, when you turn pro in football, you go to the Jaguars or whatever, and that's where you go.
Right.
Whereas, a lot of times you stay with your personal coach in track and field. So you don't have to. There are some places that, a shoe company might have a coach option for you. Right. And I became one of those options, which is when I left Alabama. So I had a group, and I relocated to Austin, did that for 4+ years. And Austin was just an area where I had lots of non-track and field friends, like family friends and things of that nature. So we did that for a while. I loved it. Like, absolutely loved that job. But Coach Brayman, the former head coach, called me at just the right time, and my kids were the right age where I felt like I was starting to miss stuff. So, and with the travel schedule that we have, you wouldn't think that I would be home more, but I was home a lot. I'm home a lot more now than what I was then. I was probably out of the country about 150 days a year when I was doing the other job. So Florida State was a really interesting thing for me. Like, I just thought it was a place where you could be really successful. What I love about it is kind of like bringing it all back together. I enjoy track and field. When I say track and field, I mean distance running, jumping, throws, sprints, hurdles, everything.
Everything. Yeah.
And so I felt like that's one of those few places where you can do just about everything, from a weather perspective, from a just training climate, the trails we have here. There's so many different things that you can do well at Florida State, and then it's a great academic institution too. So I'm trying to always recruit people that are high performance people, and that high performance in the classroom, high performance on the track, in the field, all that stuff. So it just made sense to me. And obviously Coach Brayman, Hall of Fame coach, so good opportunity. I've been pretty fortunate there too, as Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida State, all the places I've worked for guys that are either future Hall of Famers or 2 guys are actually already in the Hall of Fame. So great opportunity to learn and just kind of see a different perspective on how to run a program. Yeah,
and again, transition, we'll talk about that in a minute, right? And I think you came to FSU in 2020, is that right?
1920.
Yeah. And now, of course, in the director seat for a couple of years now, right? So, again, congratulations on that transition. My first question from my son this morning was some of the stuff you've already talked about, but he said, how did he get into coaching? Like, why did he want to be a coach? Like, did he know that? I was like, well, let me ask him, and we'll see what he says. So when did you know, like, I want to be a coach?
So I was growing up in Oklahoma. Track and field's not overly developed, or at least it wasn't when I was growing up there. So people just didn't know things, and then the internet didn't exist then either. So it was hard to find information. But I was one of those guys that was sort of the best kid on the team, and kids would ask me questions, and I would just sort of naturally was a coach, if that makes sense. So when I got to college, same thing. Like freshman year, sophomore year, people are asking me questions, and it just became a natural thing for me to get into coaching. I had started out in broadcasting. That's what I wanted to do, TV, radio, all that kind of stuff. And then I started to realize this is sort of a natural thing for me. But then I didn't really have a clue how to get into this, right? So my network was not big at all. And so I was fortunate to have an understanding of the JUCO system in Kansas. Like I wasn't a JUCO guy, but we would see these guys all the time. And there's all these jobs. And it's sort of like a starter job, and so that's how I got into it. And I didn't really know what I was doing or who to talk to or whatever. And so when I first graduated, started doing my master's, I started recruiting junior colleges as an attempt to get to know JUCO people. So, and then it turned into one of the people that I had recruited from, I then went to work for. So, there's no magic answer to it. I mean, it's all about networking.
But there's a story behind it, and that's the thing, right? And where it all started.
And so I try to, I've got a GA right now who I think is phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. He keeps the wheels turning at our place like you wouldn't believe. And, I'm trying to very much help him get into coaching as well. And so like I try to just kind of pay it forward and make sure he gets himself into a good position where he can be successful.
Build that next generation of coaches. That's awesome. And I know you mentioned travel a lot, so because you've got connections, obviously, Europe, Caribbean. So tell us a little bit about that, not just the travel piece, but how that is important when it comes to developing a coaching career and what you're doing.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it just provides me a different perspective. I have a worldview on recruiting. I have a worldview on the way we handle track and field. I have a worldview on what Florida State is going to be as a track and field program. So I think that's what the college experience can be for a lot of people is you get, we've got people from Jamaica, British Virgin Islands, the Netherlands, Ireland, all on the same team. And you'd be shocked at the people whose connections that maybe don't make sense, if that makes sense. So when Trey Cunningham was on the team, he was best friends with a Swedish discus thrower, and she was also best friends with an Australian distance runner. So we had a hurdler from Alabama, a discus thrower from Sweden, and they all went down to her wedding in Australia. So
awesome.
I think that part of that personal connection where you get to know people that are from wildly different backgrounds theoretically, but you find a commonality. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah.
So the other question from my oldest son was, looking back, who is your favorite all-time track and field cross-country athlete while you were growing up? Like, who did you see or watch and go, wow?
Yeah, Edwin Moses, absolutely. He's a hurdler, and I was fortunate to meet him in 2009 when I told you I didn't know what I was doing, and I really was like, I just met Edwin Moses. I met a bunch of people that year in a room that I was like, I shouldn't be in this room. I met Dick Fosbury in the same 10-minute span.
Fosbury Flop.
Fosbury Flop, yeah. So I was just like, this is bizarre. Because I was just an average athlete from Oklahoma. So for me to even ever meet these guys was totally amazing. But Edwin was a guy that he's just classy. He still is. He's a great motivational guy, a great motivational speaker, good human being. And has just always been incredibly supportive of every person in track and field. He's a fan of the youth in track and field, and he's just a great role model, to be honest.
And I imagine if I asked you right now, what were his times back then, you would know.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he was an everyday 47-second guy, to be honest with you, and he went years, like 6 years, I think, without losing a race. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
And this is 400?
400 hurdles.
Yeah.
Yeah, 400 hurdles. So, and that's, any hurdle race, I say this all the time, it's just 10 chances to mess up, right? So if you can be that consistent and not lose the way he did in a race that is so physically grueling is truly amazing.
Yeah, and compared to competitive times today, collegiate or worldwide, where are their times at now?
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that was running 47 all the time. It's unfortunate he didn't have the world record, which was Kevin Young, who ran 46, because he was the most consistent one. But, 47 seconds right now, it's going to win you NCAAs every single year. It's probably going to be top 3 at every Diamond League race. And it's gotten crazy where there are 3 or 4 guys in the past 5 years have just kind of cropped up and they're running 46 seconds when everybody was chasing that record for 25 years. Wow. But his times would be highly competitive today.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that little look in the back. Look in your past.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a favorite, right?
Oh yeah.
So, last question about your travels so far and your transitions as your keys to success. When I meet people that I know have been successful, and it's all relative to what level of success that is, but typically they lean into a few different things all the time to bring them keys to success. So, what would those few things be for you when you think about it?
Man, that's kind of a great question. I try to lean in on just being the same guy every day, good, bad, or otherwise. Like I try to just surround myself with good people who I can trust, and then be a person that they can trust on a day. That's what I mean by be the same guy every day. And so I'm working with 19, 20-year-old kids, and they need some constant in their life, I think. And so I think that's a big part of what I try to do. The older I get, the more I lean towards the sort of the Ted Lasso way of being overly positive, if that makes sense. So it makes more sense to me having my own kids that play sports, and I watch interactions and things of that nature. Like I try to build people up, and so that's my day to day. That I try to just be very much the same guy all the time, and positive in my own way. Like if you're around me on a regular basis, I'm a hypercritical of myself person. So I probably don't always seem like I'm positive Patty, but I definitely am trying to be that way with the kids, and find the good thing that they did in that rep, and find the good thing that they did in that race, and so that they are, focused on that when they leave the day, if that makes sense. So, you can be critical, but you also can finish it up with something positive.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I think there's room for both, but why not lead with the positive?
Yeah, I can't just say good job. That's the worst thing you can say as a coach. Good job. Like, okay, what value did that provide for the coach?
Can you give me a little more? Yeah.
So there's something that you did right in every race. There's something you did wrong in every race. That's kind of the fun part, and why I kind of got into coaching, because I didn't feel like I could do a screw turning job where I could just do the same thing, repeat. Like it's a challenge every day out there to figure out whatever the equation is to get somebody to do something, run fast, jump far, stay healthy, all those different things.
Yeah, a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So big picture now, let's kind of talk a little bit about cross-country track and field just as an industry. And I don't mean to sound so business-like with it, but, I mean, it is. When you think about worldwide with Diamond League, and you've got how many resources that college sports bring to the world. But what are some of those trends that you see today in track and field and cross-country, whether it be the athletes themselves or facilities, anything? What comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's I definitely took over the program at a wild time. One of the biggest current trends is roster limitations in the NCAA. And they went from, you could kind of have a roster, whatever your school wanted to do, right? So where you could I think when I took over, we had something like 110, give or take, between the men and the women combined. And then the NCAA has come out right when I took over and said that basically you had to limit your roster to maximum 45 per gender. Okay. And each school then kind of came out and said, well, we're only going to do 30, we're only going to do 40, whatever, and they didn't necessarily publish them, but they all kind of came out with their own limitations. And so that's changed sort of the landscape of, hey, maybe we're not going to be able to do all the events or whatever. So I came up with a framework that I felt was pretty fair of how we were going to put together our roster and how we were going to try and score points, but what we could develop, right? So that's been a big change. Obviously, NIL is a huge part of it, and rev share and all that kind of stuff. And it's regulated without necessarily being regulated. So
you don't have to say necessarily. No, it's not.
It's not. I think the biggest thing is that the best analogy I heard was, we're building the plane while it's in the air, and we don't know if it's going to even be built when we land it. And I feel like it's landed, and it has not been built all the way out. So everybody's trying to still figure it out. Some people have not. Some people are playing by a certain set of rules, which is legal. I'm not saying not, but it's like getting caught up, and there's different areas where they're moving their money around and all that kind of stuff. It's just challenges, but at the end of the day, I'm a simple guy, man. Like, tell me what the rules are. Give me the ball. I'll figure out a way to win. So there's going to be those type of challenges. I think as it reflects to the young kids in the community or people in Florida that are thinking about going to Florida State or North Florida or wherever they're thinking about going. I think just having that basic understanding of like, hey, it's getting harder and harder. It's getting harder in baseball. It's getting harder in football to find a spot, not even a scholarship, a spot. And so, that's just the reality of it. You used to be able to like, hey, that guy's pretty good. Let's see where he goes. Especially the men, I feel like they develop so late. There's been a lot of guys that we've had in the program that weren't that good in high school on paper,
right.
Compared to what we're doing in college. And 2-3 years later, they're the ACC champ. And I want that to be able to continue to happen. And so we have to be a little bit more cautious with those because we can't have 10 of those guys that maybe don't make it.
Right,
you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
our team won't be very good. But I think that is still in our DNA of who we are going to be if we're going to be successful, because that's just part of the culture. That's part of what we're trying to build culture-wise is like we want kids that are going to come in and work their way into it and make some things happen because it helps all the other kids on the team.
So you're talking about hard to find a spot, not only because of roster limitations, but also this teen phenom thing. I think you and I talked briefly about that previously. It just seems like every time I turn around, I was like, there's, an 8th or 9th grader running 1030 on a 3200 already. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, when did they start running? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's I don't want to say controversial, but definitely it's interesting to see where this is kind of going. There's a lot of training that is taking place in high school now that wasn't taking place 30 years ago. Okay. And so there's a lot of talent for sure. I think, the last 20 years, things have tremendously changed on the access that you have to get to other people that are good. I don't know if that makes sense. Like there's a couple of sprinters that relocated to Texas to train together, like from Maryland, and you know what I mean? Like they're just relocating in high school to train, and sort of like the IMG situation, Montverde, like people are relocating in high school. That's not out of the norm now. And so when you get that, and you get in an environment where you're not the only guy, and then you're able to measure yourself every single day. So those type of things are happening a lot. There's a lot more national races. There's a lot of those opportunities for people to do that. And then, there's a wide variety of other things that people are sort of testing out, supplements and all those type of things too, at a very young age. I think, obviously the broad stroke is what's going to happen in 10 years with these guys that are running fast when they're 16. Yeah. Are they still going to be fast at 26, or are they going to be on a college scholarship and then done when they're 22? So, right. My experience has been, for me, not saying it's the right thing to do, but for me, the guys that I've had that turned pro and had success and all that kind of stuff, it's probably about a 9 out of 10 were not in the top 20 in the NCAA or in high school when they came out. They were somebody that was off the radar. They got in the right system and developed and got better. So, right. I don't necessarily shy away from the top guy if the top guy is the top guy, but right. I think the long-term development for those guys is a little interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we see it locally, we see it in different things. My boys compete and always wondering, but I gotta remember they're 12 and 9. So it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a son that plays baseball and he's chasing velocity. They're kids. Right. So it's the same thing as chasing times. And in baseball, it's like nobody cares how fast ball 4 was. Right. So like you can throw 100 miles an hour for ball 4 and no one cares. Yeah. And so it's the same thing with track and field. Like it's great to be an age group champion if it dangles the carrot so that you can be motivated to work to get better. But from a coach's perspective, from a college coach's perspective, like it's really awesome that you run fast when you're 13, but it'll be more awesome if you run fast when you're 20 and 25 and 30, so just as long as that, I have kids, so I understand that they need to have that sort of reward system as they go through, and it's really neat to have your kid be ranked in the top 10 or the top 15 in the county or whatever it is. Yeah. That's awesome. But continue to work and to develop them and don't sell out so that distance coaches talk about it all the time. We talk about it all the time when we're talking about recruits. How many miles are they on right now? And that makes a big difference on whether we have someone in the program or don't have someone in the program. If they run X time, and they're on 30 miles a week, and they run X time and they're on 80 miles a week, that's wildly different because it just tells you what room for growth that they have. And that carries over to the throws, the jumps, the sprints. Those are the kind of questions we're asking when we're –
Or what could lead to injury.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And sometimes you want to be in the middle, right? So like
Yeah.
low might mean that when we add some mileage, it's going to be a problem. High might mean where are we going to go from here? So sometimes that sort of middle of the road, but they ran about the same time, hit the ground well, all those type of things are what we kind of look at.
Well, I remember Prefontaine, and I don't know the exact times, but, he wasn't super fast when he got to high school, right? His sophomore year or freshman year. And it wasn't until he was a junior and then senior.
Yep.
So it's just kind of that progression.
Yeah, I mean, and again, with boys becoming men, whatever, they're always going to develop a little bit later. And so it's kind of interesting to see. But again, I use baseball a lot. You got these kids that are 13 years old that are 6'4", 200 pounds. Of course, they're going to be the best kid on the field.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Are they still 6'3", 200 pounds when they're a high school kid? It's still pretty damn good. But you know what I mean? So, but you can see that a lot more visibly. Of course, they're going to be really good. They're going to hit the ball really, really far. They're grown men when they're 13. And so I think that happens in track as well, where you got these kids that maybe develop a little bit earlier and they're dominant at 16. But how many miles are they doing? Where is it going to go? All that kind of stuff.
We'll be right back. Hey, friends. I've been a member of Gulf Winds Track Club now since, I believe, 2007. And I became a member is because I was running 1 mile a day, 2 miles a day. And I owe everything to Gulf Winds Track Club to get me to where I am today as a runner. The fellowship, the friendships, the relationships, whatever you want to call it. But, it's also the learning. I got to train with others. I got to ask a lot of questions. I got to witness growth in others, and all because of the club. I've had lifelong friends, and we've traveled to places and done special races, and now my entire family, we're all members of Gulf Winds Track Club. So I invite you to visit gulfwinds.org, become a member too. Now, back to the show. So, coaches, let's talk about coaching philosophy. I hang out a little bit with Coach Acree at Florida State University School because my boys are there. I run with Coach McVeigh at Holy Comforter once in a while. She's a marathoner as well. Chris Sumner, who's at Lincoln. I've talked to him quite often because he does a lot of the timing events and things. So, your philosophy on coaching, I'm sure it's just a direct science, easy 1, 2, 3, point. But generally speaking, what would you share as your coaching philosophy?
Well, my coaching philosophy is maybe not that simple, but I think it's how I've prepared myself to be a coach. So I always felt like I never want to be the weak link in the chain. So every time I've gotten a good athlete, I've challenged myself to get better. So that's a big part of, I don't know if that's necessarily a philosophy, but it's my approach to how I've done things. So I'm a math person, sort of like it's natural for me to do math. So math is a big part of what I do. And so in my preparation and my planning, numbers are always a big part of what we do, whether that's the times that we run, the recovery times that we use. Right? I find that recovery is a way bigger thing for me now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That's at the heart of who I am, like preparation, science, math, making sure that we're on the edge of technology. So I think that's just kind of at the heart of who I am. Okay. But then from a general philosophy, it's like I'm trying to make sure that we are prepared as a coaching staff to help these kids in life. Okay. They may be great at track and field. They may not. I mean, they're pretty darn good if they made it to Florida State. But that not everyone's going to go pro. So if we had someone going pro 1 a year, we're doing really, really well. So if we've got 70 kids on the team and 1 a year, those numbers are not phenomenal, right? So we got 66 other kids that are going to have to develop as human beings. So we spend a lot of our time there on how important is the culture, how important is what we're doing for these kids, how are we preparing them for everyday life. And I think we win because of that, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Because we were creating responsible human beings, we're creating accountable human beings. And so when I have to ask for them to step up, it's already built in who we are as human beings. So we're just trying to create individual human beings that are good, that understand the moment. And when we ask them, which we don't ask very often, like, hey, today's the day, we got to step up, we got to make some things happen. Usually there's an understanding of what the expectation is. They step in, they give you their best effort. We challenge them to be the best version of themselves on the day. And if they give you that, it doesn't matter to me if you're first or fifth. because you know what I mean? Like it will work itself out. And so that's the general philosophy is we coach each individual, we develop them, we do the best job we can with them, and then we expect them to rise to the occasion when it comes time.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I can't help but say it reminds me a little bit of Bobby, just from years ago. Bobby Bowden always talking about developing young men, you know. And again, you're charged with doing both genders, you know, men and women, and we're different, men and women.
Yeah,
you know? So that's got to be something that, as a staff, you know, how do you learn that?
Yeah, I mean, the word we use all the time is investment, and not in this day and age, not the definition that you think.
Right.
So we're investing in these kids, and we're trying to get them to invest in themselves. And it's about personal connections. And if they will run through a wall for you, men and women, they will run through a wall for you if you get their trust and they believe in you and they know that you genuinely care about them as a human. It's a simple thing, you know, like just be there, be the same guy all the time, be reliable, and that all kind of goes hand in hand.
Nice. Thanks, Coach, for saying that. That's good stuff. Challenging and rewarding part, though, right? It's not an easy job. So if you were to identify, you know, hey, this is probably the most challenging part and this is the most rewarding part, what would they be?
Man, it's a struggle every day. I mean, I mean, if I'm being frank, for the first 10 years of coaching, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Every year, there would be a time in my career where, like, every year I would be like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this next year. And then I realized that, you know, like, it's going to be okay. It's a challenge. So every day you get something new, whether it's a scooter injury or it's a struggle with class or it's, you know, real problems where, you know, everybody's got family issues and all those different things that crop up. And again, when you've got 75 athletes, there's going to be something every day. So that's the challenging part is trying to stay even keel. You know, that's something I've probably gotten better at in the last 20 years where it used to seem like everything was, I got to deal with this immediately. And now I deal with it, but it's like, it comes in and I handle it and we move on to the next thing. So the challenges happen every single day. The rewarding part truly is why I came back to college. So when you're coaching pros, there's an expectation that every day is going to be real fast, like practice, competitions, so on and so forth. And you can run real fast and get fourth when you're a pro, right? Yeah. So my joy, my reward for me and for a lot of my coaches, I think, is when you get somebody to do something that they didn't actually think that they could do, there's a look that they get that's like, it's awesome. Yeah. You know? And so the reward is when they push themselves harder than they thought they could. They get the thing, whether they win or not, like they run a time, they're like, oh my God, I don't think I could run that. So that reward is seeing someone change on the spot. And then the long-term reward is when you see somebody like a Shanice Walker who won the NCAA championship this year. She came in and she's a great human being. Like I truly love her. She's got a lot of spirit. She's got a lot of personality. Yeah. She's got a little fire. Yeah. And there's days when she first came that was like, oh, there's some refinement that needs to take place here. But she's grown and changed and accepted the challenges along the way. You know, so when you see someone make those changes that are positive changes that you know are going to not just help them on the track, because that's the reward that they get on the day-to-day, but it's going to help them in 10 years because they've bought into what you're trying to do. That reward is awesome.
That's great. I want to go back to when you said that look, when somebody does something they never thought they could do. I liken that to on the business side of things. You know, when your messaging and direction is so important. As a coach or a leader, you know, consistent messaging, clear direction. And you have to say it so many times. And the first 100 times, people kind of roll their eyes. Sometimes they're like, oh, here he goes again. He's going to talk about let's do this, let's do that. And then when they would do it finally, I would call it that light bulb thing where the light bulb goes off in their own mind. They go, oh, that's why he kept saying to do it that way. And they're like, ding, win, right? Yeah. That makes it worth it.
And I have this weird, again, this comes back to the math part, which is very strange, but I have this weird knack for being able to tell somebody what they're about to do. It's like, you do it a couple times and they think you're some sort of wizard or whatever. And it's just, I don't say things unless I really feel confident. And there's,
got the data behind it.
There's a lot of, there's like 4 or 5 different metrics that would lead me to believe this. And I always put the caveat, if you execute, like if you do what you're supposed to do, you should run whatever. And I can do it a lot of times to the 100th of a second. like in the 60-meter dash when she ran out, and her PR was like 7:16, and she came out and ran 7:09 or whatever, which is a huge breakthrough. Like that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it is.
It is, yeah.
And I said, if you do this, you're going to run 7:08, 7:09, and she did, and it felt super easy to her. So those type of things, I've been fortunate to be able to back all that up. I don't generally throw out times that we cannot attain, but when you do, man, that buy-in becomes unbelievable.
Nice. I'm going to send you all of my Garmin stuff from the last 6 months. If you could break down all those times for me.
I'll show you my Garmin time, and I'll predict my 39-minute 5K.
You could just do chat GBT for me and tell me what my next race is going to be. I appreciate it. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about running specifically. So endurance running, a lot of our listeners, of course, are 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks, some marathoners and all of that.
Absolutely.
There's so many training programs out there, right?
Yeah.
And, it took me a few years to create mine, a little bit of this and this and that. But can you tell our listeners how important speed and strength work is to becoming a better endurance
I love this question.
runner, please?
I'm a big believer in technique, ankle stability, and hip strength for all athletes. And I feel like it's often neglected in the chase of mileage. It's often neglected in a lot of the things with distance running. It's the approach I definitely take with the people that we work with, where we're trying to develop them as total athletes. So the short answer to your question, speed is an important part of what they do. Is it something you need to be doing 50% of the time? Absolutely not. But speed can be developed through a lot of different things outside of running. So I find huge value for high school kids, for the average, day jogger, the people that are trying to run a marathon or, trying to break 4 hours or whatever they're trying to do, right? So I think that having a general weight room program is really, really important for tendon strength. It just helps stave off those little tiny aggravating annoyances that tend to crop up quite a bit. And I think that if you're doing some really basic things there, I think I could get way off track here, but if you get into isometrics and a variety of different things like that, you're going to get more value out of that because you're strengthening the tendons. And I think in general, if you're a distance runner, having strong tendons is going to be more important to you than strong. Like, I don't need to bench press 300 pounds, right? So, but having strong tendons is going to keep me from having tendonitis. It's going to keep me from having those little niggles that pop up from time to time, and it's going to help there. I spent a lot of time doing stuff on ankle stability, and it's very simple stuff. Like, everybody used to jump rope growing up.
Right.
Most kids don't know how to jump rope.
I can't tell you last time I saw somebody jump roping.
Right. So doing that simple thing, which is low amplitude jumps essentially, but it's an organized version of it. So it's just very low. You're just bouncing off the ground. Doing that just increases your ability to come off the ground. So if you have less ground contact time and you're taking however many tens of thousands of steps in a marathon, or the ability to get into a different body position, in the last mile or the last whatever it is of your race. I mean, it provides a tremendous amount of value. And I think that's where the sort of, everybody talks about trackflation. I think that people are getting that part figured out in college running and high school running as well, where they're starting to spend quality time developing the parts outside of just running, just running sprints or whatever. I think there's value in running sprints for everybody from, a half marathon down. I think that you could spend a whole lot of time there and not get a huge reward of just running sprint. But I think if you're doing a lot of other things, little body weight circuits and low amplitude jumps, I think you can get a lot of value.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. No, that's good stuff. I wanted you to go off on a little bit on that, because it's, in our running community, I do think people traditionally got caught up in miles. How many miles? How many miles? And, I got to run a marathon, so I got to do 50, 75, 80 miles. And the minute I started changing up my training to where one day I would do some intervals, right? A couple days later, I would do strength work where I would do some mile repeats, right? And then some easy days and then a long day, but then also threshold work where I'm doing a 3 mile, 6 mile at race pace or close to it.
Yeah.
Once I did that variance, I got better
Yeah.
And I was doing lower miles. I was almost getting more with less, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because again, I think easy running is understated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like, again, getting way off
Sure.
track, I like to, when we do an easy run, I like to finish it with something else, whether it's an easy stride or some light plyometrics or something like that. And when I say plyometrics, we're not out there, jumping off of boxes and doing all that crazy stuff. Right. For me, plyometrics sometimes is those, jump rope, whatever. Even with the sprinters who are extremely dynamic, we're only doing maybe 100 contacts, jumping up on a box or jumping over some little hurdles and things of that nature. About 100 contacts per session with the sprinters. So it'd be half of that for the distance runners, so you don't really have to do all that, but it's just that repeated use and getting in there and doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah, I talked to my oldest who's in middle school now, and he fills me in on some of the workouts they're doing, and he mentions the circuit, like they do a circuit on whatever day it is after their run, before their run. So just having that overall fitness, not that he needs to be a bench presser, but
exactly,
I don't mind it if he wants to, but he don't need to.
Yeah, it turns out all the simple stuff from the 80s was pretty handy, and I go back to it a lot.
Okay. So a lot of parents are probably listening to our podcast, right? And then, they've got kids like me and who are interested in cross country and track. What do we need to do right? And what do we need to avoid as being parents of endurance athletes or that want to be sprinters or that want to be discus? I mean, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
What's some general advice you got for us?
That's a many-layered question.
Yeah, we got time. Go ahead.
I would. There's no magic potion, so I think moderation is huge. I think with all athletes, I think you want to be somebody that is motivated to be good, and I find it's easy to be motivated if you're having fun, if you're enjoying yourself, if you find fulfillment in the activity that you're doing. So parents, find out a way to make what they're doing enjoyable. If they like running, let's encourage them to run. If they absolutely hate running, let's maybe
baseball.
Find a shorter distance to run. Those type of things. But absolutely figure out ways that are going to make it enjoyable. I think as a running community, like I don't mind this, but I was at a middle school track meet the other day, and I think I walked through 1,000 people and nobody knew who I was, which is great. Outside of the fact that we probably should know who the Florida State head track coach is. I'm good with that. Totally. I enjoyed it because I could walk around and watch my dog. Yeah. And there's a handful of people, the coaches that Rickards knew who I was, that type of thing. But it's, getting to know the environment of the people that are around you. And part of that's on me. I need to do things like this where I'm getting into the community a little bit more, and so that people know. But getting to know who the players in the game are. If like you're a fan of running, or if you're a fan of track and field, or you're a fan of that, getting to know who the important people are. Again, I come from that worldview of Diamond League and World Championships and Olympic Games. That goes to a bigger thing where people only pay attention every 4 years and all that kind of stuff. So as you're getting into it, I think that there's great participation in high school and limited participation as you continue to go up. But the great part about it is you can do it for the rest of your life. Golf is popular because it's frustrating, but you can do it for the rest of your life. You can watch it on TV and go, there's no way I can do that. Right. I've tried 1,000 times. Right. Running is similar, but I think maybe we, as track coaches, like collegiate track coaches, professional track coaches, high school track coaches, don't convey the difference between 9.95 and 10.50. Like those are worlds of difference, and the difference between a 4 flat mile, which used to be the standard, right? Yeah. And now that's the expectation. Yeah, 350, 353 is going to nationals, and it used to be if you broke 4, you're pretty sure you're going to get there. So and again, it's worked its way all the way down to high school where we would have like fought tooth and nail for a guy that ran 409 15 years ago, and now it's like, well, we might have a spot, and so that's part of that education part where you have to understand where you're going, what's good, what's getting better, and just so understanding the sport a little bit better, knowing what good is, and sort of changing your expectation about what good is. So then you change your expectation about what you need to be doing as a parent, what you need to be doing, how you can help these kids get better. And then the other side, I think, is, find someone that can help you, guide you down that path, and make sure it's a fit for your kid, right? So if it's whether it's an AAU coach or the high school coach or a running club or whatever it is, get something that gets them involved. And I think that that's a huge part of it because, again, you don't have to necessarily always just do something through the school. You don't always have to have a limited track and field season when you can run. I mean, I believe you guys had a road race on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So, getting involved in those type of things on a regular basis, I think those type of things are fantastic just because you can do those for all age groups for the rest of your life, and I think that helps a tremendous amount. And then, how that ties into fitness and road racing, and then how it also ties into the collegiate level and the pro level, how it all kind of intermingles. It is a wild situation that track and field is so diverse, and some of it's good, and I think some of it is a challenge.
But I'd love to see track and field and cross country. You just get a little more of the light, because it's you open the local newspaper, whether it's online, it's usually baseball, basketball, football.
Yeah.
You don't really talk about. I mean, here we have a men and women's team, both ranked currently. Men's ACC Indoor Coach of the Year. We're doing well, but it's hard to find it in the light, and I don't understand why.
Yeah. Part of it is the nature of our sport. We don't compete at home very many times, so I try to. We had a couple of home meets. But we just kind of have to travel, right? So you have to find the competitions and you have to go chase times, so to speak. So we can't run at home all the time. It's just unfortunate. So I think that's a bit of a challenge as far as that. We as track coaches have to do a better job of promoting our sport and putting things out there. And we have a media team that does all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, everything is either Twitter or Instagram, right? And so there's a whole generation of people that read the newspaper that don't get to see anything if we don't put it there, right? So we got to do a better job as coaches and of getting all that kind of information out to everyone. And like as you talked about cross country, I can't not go back to World Cross and
that was
what
amazing,
an amazing
wasn't it?
job everybody did in the organizing community, and the LOC was awesome. And I've been to a few of those. That was by far the best attended one I've ever been. It's usually like 1,500 people, and I've been to some cool ones in like wineries, and they ran literally through a winery. But I thought that just it was unique, and I thought they did an amazing job, and everybody was excited about it, and I thought the community supported it incredibly well. It was very well advertised, and people were coming, not just from the local community, but the people were coming from all over the United States because, again, they felt like this is their only opportunity to get to see something like that. And it probably is, So
third time in 40 years it's been in the United States. So
right. And I mean, that for our running community, I think is huge. And I think all the things that was done on the backside of it, like, hey, you get to go run the course that they just ran, and all of those type of things I think were totally awesome. I mean, it's just great for the community.
Moderation, motivation. I really love when you said that, with the family, talking about the kids, but I want to wrap it up today and give you a few moments to kind of give us an update on the teams, where you're at today, how you're doing. Your last event last weekend, y'all did well. Talk about the next event, but what do you want to say about your teams right now?
I'm never content with where we're at, but I'm happy with the direction of the program, if that makes sense. So,
of course.
It's good to have two teams ranked in the top 25. I used to not really believe in rankings, but it turns out those things are actually fairly accurate in track and field, as they've figured out how to kind of find a metric that actually works. There's a lot of numbers involved.
Maybe they're math people like
their
you.
math. The math is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So I think it's the first time we've had both genders ranked in quite a few years. So and we've been staying there, in the top 25, which is great. I think the thing that I've tried to maybe adjust just a little bit is our diversification of our team, as far as like where do we put our resources, where we're trying to be good, so on and so forth. So we're trying to be good everywhere, but we've got good distance runners, we've got good throwers, we've got good jumpers, sprinters, hurdlers, all that kind of stuff. So currently we're in the middle of our season, so we're about give or take halfway of the regular season. We're headed to Tom Jones this weekend, which is at the university down in Gainesville. That should be a good meet. I mean, I think there's 25 teams in the meet, and I think there's probably, I would say 20 of them are ranked in the top 25. So it's going to be essentially a pre-nats in many of the events. So that's going to be a great opportunity for ourselves to test ourselves. We've got some great athletes that have been doing well already. Mentioned a handful of them, and mostly because of the diversification of events. So we have a guy named Shamar Reed, who's a discus thrower, who's top 5 in the country, from Jamaica. We have a young lady from South Florida who's a freshman in the javelin. She was a state record holder in the javelin and has improved like 9 meters since just as a freshman, and she's leading the ACC right now. She's top 5 in the NCAA. Alexis Schwartz. We've got 13-plus meter triple jumper that she just opened up last week at home, and she jumped 13.19, which is far.
Thank you.
And a variety of different things there. We sent a couple girls out to Stanford to run the 5K. They ran 15:30s, 15:36 and 15:39, I believe. And then we had a first-time steeplers that ran 10:22, and those are like top 5 in the ACC as well. So we've got a variety of different events there, and then sort of the areas where we've been traditionally good. Shanice Walker is going to open up in the 100 meters this weekend, and she's the indoor national champion in the 60. So we're expecting some pretty good things to happen there. We've got 3 of the top hurdlers in the NCAA on the men's side that are all be racing down there as well. So we do a lot of different things, and I'm fortunate to have really good assistant coaches that are helping me do all those things.
That's right.
Way different from my junior college days. So it's nice to be able to help oversee all of that and have people that I trust that can do a great job of developing people, and a lot of support from administration and all that kind of stuff. And so we're just trying to put a good product on the track in the field, full of good human beings, and we're excited about where it heads. I think one thing that we're truly excited about, a year from now, we're going to host the ACC Championships outdoors. Okay. And so that's year 3 for me as a head coach. People ask when we won, is that ahead of schedule? Like, no. They're keeping score. I want to win. So we're hoping that we're going to win. Men and women outdoors is going to be a challenge, but obviously we want to make sure that we put on a good show when we host ACCs, and we're hoping to have a big crowd and a lot of people out from the local community to support, because it is at a time when it's mid-May, so there's baseball, softball, track, that's about all that's going on. And so it's an opportunity to get to see some of these guys showcase themselves at a really, really high level. And the ACC championships are a fun meet. It's exciting. It's a 3-day situation, but it's usually the schedule presents itself so that it's fan-friendly. So it's usually like a Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday afternoon situation. So it should be viewer-friendly for a lot of people.
I'll put it on my calendar. I'll be there, Coach. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Congrats to the team so far. And like you said, you're halfway. We watch it. We'll keep following it close, and just super grateful that you gave us this time. And thanks for sharing all that you did for our listeners. And shout out to, of course, our mutual friend, Jeff Phillips, for connecting us, having a ball running with his kids, and super fast kids too. And hopefully that'll be happening for a few years down the road. But thanks again, Coach. It's wonderful to have you on the We Run This Town podcast.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you for listening to today's episode of We Run This Town podcast, the official podcast of Gulf Winds Track Club. For more information on the club, whether that be membership, upcoming races, or to listen to more episodes, visit gulfwinds.org. Remember, whether you're an elite runner or a beginning runner, together we run this town.